Hi. When you ask a student the typical question, what do they want to be when they grow up? Most of them say they want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, a policeman, a firefighter. When you asked me when I was a child, I would say I want to be an entrepreneur. And you could imagine the looks that I got as an 8-year-old who says, I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, it all started because of basically my background and the way I grew up. I grew up in a household with 2 parents that worked what many would consider your good corporate America jobs with a lot of stability and comfort. I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as a lot of long hours and being basically tied to something that ran your life. So I decided, you know, this is exactly what I want to be, an entrepreneur, but I really didn't understand how I would get there. So I was at the threshold of college, and as I entered in to my freshman year, of course, I ended up taking the traditional path into what would be corporate America until my junior year. My junior year, I was asked by a professor to help her teach 20 high school students about entrepreneurship in a summer academy, and I thought, why not? That would allow me to stay in Charlotte for the summer, I'd get a paycheck, and it seemed like a good job. Well, at this time, this was the time that I fell in love with entrepreneurship all over again. So I decided to change paths. Instead of going directly into corporate America after I graduated, I would decide to move across the country to Portland, Oregon, obtain my MBA degree with a focus in entrepreneurship, which everybody thought I was completely crazy for doing. Professors would say, you're good at finance, go ahead and do that. And I'm like, no, I want to learn more about entrepreneurship. And I did. I followed, you know, my heart and what I thought I should be doing. So I started interning for a basketball team called the Portland Trail Blazers, ended up falling into the marketing area, went into my first full-time job, which was a transplant network, which is very interesting. Worked in the marketing department there for about 3 years, and I went to a tech company. And it was really basically because I got bored at the transplant network and I just wanted to learn as much about marketing as possible. Well, of course, 10 months into this job, the economy was sinking. It was 2009, and I was laid off. So what did I decide to do? I started applying for jobs, and I thought, I don't want to work for anybody else. So I decided to make a big decision, which was not easy to do. I would move back into my parents' house for about 1.5 years, develop this idea that I kind of come up with, which was independent youth. And many people ask, how did I even come up with this idea? And honestly, it was just a work in progress. It was basically me putting my passions together, trying to figure out what I was excited about in life, and it was always working with youth, and then also entrepreneurship. I had grown up in an entrepreneurial household, and I understood the power of entrepreneurship. So I merged my passions together and developed Independent Youth. Independent Youth is a 501c3 social enterprise that empowers and educates teens on entrepreneurship using peer-to-peer engagement and teaching methods. We've been around for about 3.5 years now, and it seems like now in the past 8 months we've been getting a lot of great traction. So how do you build a society of independent youth? In 3 ways. First, you value the exponential value in entrepreneurship education. So what does that mean? What I found when I started Independent Youth was, yes, I wanted to promote entrepreneurship within the community amongst youth and amongst teens, but I didn't realize at the time that there was also a mindset that I'd have to also change within administrators and within parents, because, you know, a lot of times you'll go into a school and administrators put a lot more value on math classes and science classes and history classes and English classes, and that's fine, but it seems like they really discount the value in entrepreneurship education. Let me give you a story. So I was actually at my alma mater school, the school that I graduated from back in 2000, and it's a really good school here in St. Louis. And I was there, and I was in the office of the business teacher there, and me and her were talking, and all of a sudden this student comes in, and she's sobbing. And I said, what's going on? What's wrong? And I didn't know this girl from anywhere, and she says, my mom won't let me come to to Independent Youth's upcoming entrepreneurship day. And our events are always on a Monday, so you do have to miss school, but a lot of times business teachers will bring their classes. But this girl's mom would not let her come. And so I said, you know, why won't she let you come to the day? And she said, because she doesn't want me to miss science class. And at that moment, my mouth dropped, and I didn't know what to say, you know, to the girl. And she said, can you call my mom? And I was like, well, I don't really want to get involved in that, but but at that moment, it just reminded me that, you know, we do have to change a mindset of some, you know, another generation of parents, administrators, people who may not understand the power of entrepreneurship. Also, I go into classrooms and I'll do presentations, 1-hour presentations on entrepreneurship, just bringing more awareness to the subject. And it never fails. I always get that one student in class who raises their hand and they say, well, I've got this great idea and I started working on it and I'm so excited, but how do I get my parents to support me and help them understand what I'm doing is good? And to me, you know, that's sad, because to me, I believe so strongly in entrepreneurship education and the power of it, but it's interesting because there are so many, you know, adults and kids who want to pursue this, but people in their life who just don't support that. So that's another obstacle that Independent Youth is trying to help people overcome. So what are the benefits of entrepreneurship education and experiences? There are multiple benefits. Students become confident, they're empowered, greater creativity, problem-solving skills, and these are just some of the skills that kids gain by getting these experiences and education. So like I said, we need to put more value into the exponential value of entrepreneurship education, understanding the importance and the power of it. Number 2, create a mindset that transcends the 4 walls of comfort. A lot of times, you know that person who goes to their 9-to-5 job, they do no more, no less than what they're supposed to do in that job. They do exactly what's on their job description, and then 5, 10, 15 years down the line, they're like, I'm bored with my life. You know, where did my life go? Well, that's what Independent Youth is trying to do. We're trying to help teens at an earlier age understand that they can too find their passion, discover their passion, and go after it. They don't need to just kind of ride through life because they're trying to pay bills, or ride through life because this is the typical path that someone told them to do. So we're just helping teens explore that and understand that this too is an option. And then finally, just help teens understand how to kind of start building that entrepreneurial mindset. Because a lot of times people say, well, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur, and that is 100% true. But everyone can have an entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneurial mindset is one who is somebody who seeks opportunities, who's a go-getter, who doesn't just operate within the confinement of their job duties, but they're actually looking to do more, even within a corporation, looking to work outside of their job description for the betterment of the company. So that's just a couple things that we're trying to do. So, Independent Youth. Now today, when I was that little girl saying I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up, I never knew that Independent Youth would come so far. I didn't even know that I would start an organization like Independent Youth. It's so funny because I always get that question, like, how did you come up with this? And it's amazing. It's amazing. It just kind of has developed into this thing that I never could have even imagined. What makes us different? A lot of people will say, well, aren't there other organizations out there that do what you do? And my answer is no. What makes us different is we have the peer-to-peer teaching and engagement that we do. We incorporate it in all of our programs and the resources that we offer. So Independent Youth has a teen network. It's called the Teen Entrepreneur Network. It's a network of, currently we have 16 nationally recognized kids between the ages of 12 and 18 years old that reside across the United States. They are very successful entrepreneurs. I find these kids from everywhere. One of my last entrepreneurs I found, I was at home on a Friday night, laying in bed watching Shark Tank, and I was like, I want that kid. It's true. And I found him, and he's a part of our network, and I love him. I love his family. But so a little bit about the group. These kids, they've started businesses for multiple reasons. One of my kids, he started at 13 years old because he wanted a new bike, and then he got PR within the first 3 months, and it turned into this huge business called Man Cans. And we've got the youngest red carpet celebrity interviewer in the country out in LA, Piper Reese. We've also got a 13-year-old cook who has her own cooking show in Oklahoma and sells her salad dressing sells in Whole Foods Market across the country. We've got 4 of my kids have actually been on Shark Tank and received funding. All 4 of them have received funding from the sharks, one or more of the sharks on Shark Tank. So these kids are ridiculous. I love them. I call them my teens. And this, what I tell them is, this is amazing because you guys are already amazing, and they don't think they're amazing, but they're amazing. And 20 or 30 years down the line, I'm like, as more people are coming into this group, you guys are going to be the ones running this country. And the number one thing that we do when we're selecting these teens is we basically, the number one thing I'm looking for, and they don't realize this because I don't tell them, I'm trying to understand, number one, I want to make sure they're running their business and not their parents. There's a difference between a parent running a business and a parent being a support system. And then number 2, I want to make sure they're super humble because that makes a difference. When they're presenting at our events and telling other teens about what they're doing, they have to be relatable. So the second thing that makes Independent Youth different is the diversity. I am huge on diversity within our group. People laugh at me because in my office I have a whiteboard and I'm literally laying out my group. I have nonprofit organizations versus for-profit organizations, race, geographical location, age, socioeconomic class, and I'm putting these names of my kids underneath each category. So I make sure that we have the most diverse group. Why? Because when these kids are presenting and when they're participating in our educational videos, whoever is watching that or whoever's participating at our event, we want one of those teens to connect with one of our teens that are standing up there so that they understand, regardless of what background you have, where you come from, you too can be an entrepreneur. So that's basically the mindset behind that. So that's kind of a little bit about Independent Youth. I'm excited about how far we've come. Now, what's the future of Independent Youth? A lot of amazing things have been going on. We're in final partnership talks with a big company called Google. They found us, and it's funny because I was on a phone call yesterday with somebody, and he's like this big global brand manager for a fashion mogul, and he's like, what do you mean they found you? And I was like, they found us, and he's like, that never happens. I was like, I know, I'm still in shock. But but it's nice because, somebody like that who found us and they see, this little organization with one person who's running it with a board, and they see the passion in my eyes, and they see the mission of what we're doing and what we've created. And the interesting part about Independent Youth is we've created so many layers within what we do. When I started Independent Youth, it was just really about teens giving back to the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and it's turned out into so much more. We just had our big weekend called Trep Start Day St. Louis back in September, and it was, we flew in all 16 of our teens, and when you fly them in, you have to fly a parent in, so we flew in a ton of people, and it was, an event around it where every day they had, networking, and we took them bowling one day, and I'm just observing, sitting back, and the joy that I just got from that, seeing these kids giving high fives and relating in ways, that they never relate with other kids because it's just their thing, and then the parents are discussing, well, how do you deal with your 10-year-old who's acting out because my 13-year-old, is becoming famous all of a sudden. So there's so many layers, and we've created a parent group within Independent Youth so that they can be like their own support system, and then the kids have their own group where they're doing conference calls, video conference calls once a month. So we've created this amazing thing, and I'm really excited about it. But I guess to close, I just want to say, I encourage anybody that is going through life bored or not really feeling like they're fulfilling their purpose to go out, discover your passion, pursue it, and this journey hasn't been the easiest journey, but it's been the most amazing journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I look back and I realized the reason I was jumping jobs when I was in Portland, and even though I would be in like the most amazing job and the CEO, loved me and it was just a great fit, I was always looking for something more, and that's because, now I realize where I'm supposed to be. So pursue your passions and life will be good. Thank you.